Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope you're all doing great today. So we're gonna do some experimenting today, something that I've wanted to do for quite a while. I was gonna do it on my own, but I thought, let's do it on the stream and everybody can kind of hopefully we'll learn something from these experiments. So as you guys know, I've been doing vertical pours a lot more. And one of the things that we do is we kind of stir it up with these sticks. Well, the only issue is, aside from I kind of know what results I'm getting somewhat, by making blanks and then turning them up, right? They get swirly, but realistically, I don't exactly know what the difference between this stick exactly is, or this stick, or like any of these sticks, is there anything going on? And I thought it took me a while. Like the problem is, how do you do that? How do you learn what's going on, especially when you're pouring in something like this? You can't even see in there. You gotta just kind of do it and hope everything works out and then test things, but that can get a little bit wasteful. And I thought it'd be really neat if we could somehow experiment and get a little bit of an idea of what's going on. And what I came up with is, if we go with clear resin, because this is the other problem. If you're mixing opaque, well, mica powders, whatever, some opaque pigments, you can't, even if you had a clear tube, which is what we're gonna go with, you can't see what's going on the inside because all you're seeing is the outside. So I thought, what if we go with clear resin and then try pouring in some, maybe some mica powder, some of the, like opaque pigments, maybe even some transparent pigments, and just try to do some experiments and see if we can see what's going on inside the tube. If there's anything really noticeable that we can see visually, using different sticks. Is it kind of pulling the two resins together in a little bit different way? One of the things is, these kind of bent and crooked weird ones are a little bit harder to make, and you got to find the right material to use. Something, kind of straight, like you could use anything for just a straight stir stick. So that's what we're going to do today. I thought that'd be kind of fun, and then hopefully we'll have enough time. I have a really interesting blank color idea that I wanted to put into the Pen Blank Club boxes this month. And so hopefully I can get those knocked out on the stream. If not, I'll do them on my own. But I got a pretty cool like Halloween theme kind of color thing that I wanted to play with and see what it looked like. A little bit different than your typical Halloween theme. So we'll get to that if we get to it. Otherwise, it'll be kind of a surprise for everybody in the Pen Blank Club. So as you probably can see on the top of the screen, I've got the Ornament Challenge deadline streaming across the screen. We're going to be doing that up until the end. I just want to make sure everybody gets their ornaments in. So it's just a little reminder. And if you're not familiar with the Ornament Challenge, it's something that Turner's Warehouse puts on every year. They've been doing it for 6 years straight. They raise a ton of money. And it goes to, did I get that? Did that go in there? That didn't seem to work. There we go. They raise a lot of money for, what the heck is going on here? Where does the money go to? My mind just went totally blank while I was trying to think of that. It is here somewhere. Help me out, guys. Let's see here. It benefits, I just can't think of the words. The Children's Hospital. What is it? Help. It benefits, I can't think of it. St. Jude. There we go. I was like, it was on I was going to say it. And then I was like, my brain like clicked and I was like, I can't think of the word. Yeah. St. Jude Children's Hospital. So I think last year they raised over $5,000. And so the way that it works is you're going to make an ornament, and you don't even actually, I think there's even a category that's like not turned. So this isn't even just like a turning thing. If you just want to make an ornament, I think they got a category this year that's just random, whatever ornament. So it's, Christmas ornaments. And so you make an ornament, send it in, there's contest stuff. So it's kind of a two-part deal. Where you can make this and you're entering it if you want to try to kind of win the category. They've got prizes for that, but even if you don't win your category that you enter into, there's all kinds of giveaways, tons of them. I'm sponsoring 2 or 3 gift cards from my website. They got a ton of other sponsors. I know Easy Wood Tools is in there. Jacob Jansen is sponsoring it. Stainless bottle stoppers, like there's tons. I think Record Power, there might even be a lathe or something up for grabs. I don't know. So lots of really good prizes. So like that's the kind of fun contesty, you know, prizes side. But then what ends up happening is when you make it, send it to them, and then they're going to put it up for auction. And then all of the proceeds from that auction, it's an online auction, get your friends in there, and everybody makes really cool ornaments. So I know last year I think I picked up like 4 or 5. Like it was pretty awesome. So then, you know, you bid on it like auction style, and then, you know, they collect that money, but all that money goes to St. Jude. So it's pretty fun. It gets you in the shop doing something. A lot of people take this kind of to the next level. I know some people are already done with their ornaments. They were done before it started. So it's pretty fun. So check that out. And like I said, the link that I put up there has all the information in it. There's, you know, like I said, there's tons of different categories. There's ones for like beginner turners and like, you know, kids categories and like resin and wood and all kinds of different stuff. So it's pretty cool. And you can enter multiple ornaments too. And if you really want to, and you could, so I think you can only enter, I'm not, check out the rules for sure, but I believe the way it works is you can only enter like 1 ornament into each category. But if you want to just make as many ornaments as you want, and then just make sure you fill out the paperwork for the one that you want entered into the contest, you could send them whatever you want. So you can send multiples. They'll auction them all off. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, let's see, who was here first? Kim was here first. We finally got Kim her pen kits, and I sent some blanks out too. Good Lord, international shipping is ridiculously expensive. I don't think I'm not going to be able to do that next time. It is really expensive, but we finally got it to her, so that's good. So I can't wait to see what she makes with those things. All right, so here's how this is going to work today. Hopefully, I didn't. One thing I'm a little bit embarrassed about, I didn't really do planning. This week's been kind of crazy. So hopefully that doesn't look absolutely horrible. I'm going to open my phone up and see what this looks like from your guys' side on my phone, because I can look and everything looks kind of all right on my monitors, but I want to double check and see if this looks, if you're going to be able to see stuff. And I'm going to actually switch out. This thing is like blocking a lot of the bottom, so I'm going to try something else to hold the thing up. But let's get to my thing here. Who's excited about the MLB playoffs? I am. This guy is. Okay, so let's see. It's not the greatest picture. I'm going to try to add a little bit of light behind this. Number 1, try and brighten things up a little bit. I think I can actually even change some of the settings in the camera if I have to, but I think a little bit of light might just help a little bit. Let's see. Whoop. Let's do it like that. Settings on this camera are set for the lathe, which has a light. So that's looking a little better. It's not the greatest picture on the planet, but I think it's going to have to kind of do. So, and what I'm going to do is we got the dual cam. So you can see what I'm doing overhead as well as in front of it. Yeah, that's pretty decent. It's not the best. It's kind of fuzzy looking. Maybe because I'm zoomed in so far. But I think you'll be able to, if we're going to be able to see anything, I think this is going to be the best view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just like a little clamp to hold the tube. I got a little tiny clamp. Hopefully that will work to kind of, I just don't want the tube to fall over, obviously. Get this thing out of the way. I don't know if that's significantly better. Let me grab, I have even smaller clamps. Let me see if I can just grab like a spring clamp. that's small. All I need, I just need something that, so I make sure this thing doesn't just like straight fall over. Where are all my little, I had little mini clamps somewhere. I could maybe just shove the thing into like clay or something. Where are all the little mini? Where's my mini clamps? Okay, well, I can't find the mini clamps, so let's go with that one. It was a little bit better than that wooden thing. I just can't think of anything else off the top of my head that will work quite well for this. I think you'll still be able to get the idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our little plugs. Yeah, that's about the right size. First thing, before I even start, I'm going to hit it with some stoner. Oh, I'm about out of that. So I'm just spraying the inside of the tube. We don't want to, I don't really care, but these are not going to be probably particularly excellent. We're really not making like pen blanks. We're just doing some testing here. Hopefully this, yeah, there we go. All right, that ought to work. What do you guys think about that? Troy, how's it going? Welcome. Nice. Well, I'm glad you joined the chat. Okay, so this will definitely get down in there. So will this one. Another thing that I wanted to do is see if I could find a fat one. I only have those two sizes. Let me see if I can find something that's even thicker. I think I've got some like wire with the jacket on. I don't have anything. Oh, I do have some all thread. That might actually be kind of an interesting, different type of thing. Where's my? There's some wire. Nice. Yeah, that's a little bit thicker. All right, so like I said, I haven't been. I've gotten good results. This is not really because like I'm not getting good results or something. It's a little bit bigger. I wish I could find something even bigger than this. Like I need like a 12 gauge wire or something. Or not 12. 6 gauge? I don't know. The bigger it is, the more that you're going to get like movement. You know, it's going to move more, displace more stuff. I should have planned a little bit. Problem is, I got here and I was going to get everything do all this when I got to the shop. But of course, I got a few packages yesterday. My audio might be cutting out. I apologize for that if it's happening. But I got here and I had to unbox some goodies, and then you get carried away, and everything goes downhill from there. So there you have it. That's what happened. Oh, I got a pretty big piece. Hold on. Got something kind of big in here. We got all kinds of random junk hidden in the back of our shop. Oh God. Our shop is a mess. One of these days I need to clean this place up a little bit. There we go. Okay. It's all thread out of the way. Those things. Looks like those are all the same. This thing's really thick. Whoa. Jeez. And it's really long and I can't really cut it quickly, so we're going to have a very long, big stick thing. All right, so here's what I found. We'll try this even. I'm going to clean it up. It's probably got rust and God knows what else on it. Let's see here. So we'll do a couple experiments, like I said, and hopefully this will, well, that didn't work. hopefully this will provide us some insight into what's happening. And like I said, what I want to do is we'll mix both, you know, like clear resin will be one of them, and then we'll mix some like mica powder, you know, like something opaque, so that hopefully with the backdrop of the clear resin, we'll actually be able to see what the other one is doing, how they're interacting. That's kind of the game plan here. I'm gonna have to cut this thing. It's just like 3 feet long. I'm just sanding this little piece of metal that I found, and then I'm gonna wipe it with some like acetone or maybe some alcohol. I don't want any junk that's on this rod thing to screw up our resin. It doesn't really matter, like I said, we're not really like making pen blanks. We're just basically doing experiments, and we're going to kind of waste resin. And this is one of those things that I mention a lot, and I know it kind of sucks because a lot of people are like, I don't want to waste resin, but the only way to like learn what is going on, oh, this is going to take forever with the hacksaw. The only way to learn what's going on is to get in there and just do it. You know, waste some resin, see what's going on, not worry about like results or something, and just try different things out. That's the only way that I know of, at least, to get some answers. And sometimes, you know, you won't even get any, you know, you don't get the answer that you wanted, which is not fun. But a lot of times, even if you don't get the answer that you were looking for, you learn something else, which is pretty awesome. Something that you may not have even like thought was possible, or, you know, you just never even thought about it, kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to put you guys on mute. I know this is taking forever at the beginning, but once I get this thing snipped, we'll be good to go. So let me mute. And Okay, that took way too long. So I've got a little stick here that's going to be a little bit more manageable. I need to file it just a little bit, just to make sure that I don't kill myself with it. Oh yeah, I got a new file. Oh, fun. It's hot. Let's see here. Well, that file kind of sucks. Okay, so I probably would not use something like this. I seriously doubt that I would be going for something that thick. However, I'd like to see what it does, because sometimes you just never know, right? All right, so I'm gonna, just in case, I'm gonna nip this thing off here. Got a slightly thicker than what I have. Here we go. We got a good assortment of things now. Okay, so a pretty thin one, my normal one, which I actually use this one sometimes too, but this one's a little bit thicker maybe than that, and then this one's really thick. You can't see that on the camera. Pretty thin. Let me flip this thing so I can actually see what I'm doing. There we go. We got a really thick one, a little bit thinner, even thinner, and even thinner. All right, so we got a few different things. Let's go for, first thing I think I want to do is, let's go for this one, because I think it'll move. It's the third thickest. We can also bend this one pretty easy if we want. So let's just try straight. And I'm just going to basically plunge down in and kind of stir it around as I pull up. I do that on some of my blanks. So let's see here. Mr. Four-Bagger, did you have to do anything special to the pine cone for the lampshade you made out of it? Well, I stabilized the pine cone. I'm not 100% sure that did a whole lot. It stabilized the inside, but the thing is, those giant pine cones don't. What's happening here? Sorry. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. The giant pine cones, the outsides, like, they don't stabilize. It doesn't really like harden that. It's already kind of hard, and so just, it's not a big deal, but you're not gonna, it's hard to explain. They're not as easy as smaller pine cones, like the leaves or whatever, that, you know, like the little things. The insides are kind of half hollow, and the stabilizing resin is not gonna fill that either. So you're gonna have filling to do with like CA glue or maybe even epoxy or something like that after you're done. But I recommend, if you stabilize the pine cone, you definitely need to dry it out for sure. But stabilize it, and then at that point, I mean, it's going to be like everything else. You know, and it'll look cool, but you got to be a little bit careful because that structure is not solid. I guess that's the main thing. Okay, so let's get some gloves. So offhand, I can't even remember how much resin we're going to need. I'm just going to mix up like 100 grams. We should have plenty. Probably 50 is actually all we need. Let's start with, actually, let's do like 70. I'm gonna mix up 100 on the first one. Just now, so there's a couple things going on here. So we have our mixing sticks. Okay, so that is kind of one issue with this. The other thing is the timing, the temperature, and all that stuff. That is also going to kind of tell us a couple things. Now, I think the best way to do this, actually, in the interest of time, because what would happen if I was going to do this one tube at a time, it would take 15 minutes for each result to come back, kind of thing. So we don't have time for that, or patience. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull out, first off, I'm going to pull out a new can of Stoner. While I'm doing this, I'm just going to switch to the intro view. I don't need that. So I'm going to get myself a new can of Stoner. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set up a bunch of tubes. This is, I think, going to work a lot better. And frankly, I'm probably going to mix up even more resin than that, for 100. So we're going to need enough to cover. I think we can almost knock out pretty much like all the tests, kind of. Maybe we'll do 2 sets of tests, 4 tubes each, maybe. I'm just trying to think about how to do this with time and have everything work. So, like I said, there's 2 issues going on. We got a stick. We got different types of sticks that can have different effects. Typically, of course, I'm going to wait until the end of the working time, or like when it starts thickening up. That's when typically I'm going to do that. But what we can do is we can kind of look at different ranges of temperatures as well and see if there's any kind of difference. We can have, because typically I would be doing, 6 or 7 tubes at a time. And obviously I do it kind of quick, but when I'm doing that. But what we can do is we can start at like one temperature and then go through those at that temperature with a different stick, and then we can kind of have another set that we're waiting. So I think we can actually do like all 4 sticks at like 2 different temperature ranges. The difference, so we'll do clear resin, we'll do mica powder, and then we'll do one that has clear resin and liquid dye. So I think that'll be good. So we'll do 2 experiments, 4 tubes each. I'm gonna need to get a couple more tubes here. So we got 4 or 5. Yeah. Originally, when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, we'll just do some experiments. But I think that we really need to do this a little bit differently than I had first thought. I was thinking one at a time. So I'm going to take these off screen back behind there, because we're going to put a lot of Stoner in the air, and I'd rather direct this into the corner, kind of. Always be aware of where you're spraying Stoner. If you've got things that you're going to be embedding in resin, sitting around like burls or 3D prints or whatever, if it's just sitting out on the desk and you're spraying this stuff and it lands on that, you're going to get some adhesion issues, So be kind of mindful of where you're spraying the Stoner, or any mold release, whatever mold release it is. Okay. Kind of got a little heavy on some of those, but we'll be okay. Now, I'm going to have to come up with a new system of holding these tubes too. I should have thought about this a little bit longer before the stream. Okay, so all I need to do is 4 at a time. So that makes things a little bit easier. Two. And then, like I said, we should have enough time, hopefully, to do that batch of Halloween themed blanks. I think it'll be a fun one. Okay, so I can just hold 2 sticks together. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. Question is, do I have 2 of the right size sticks? Yeah. 1/2 inch. That ought to work. Okay, so we're getting MacGyver-ish right here. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to lay down 2 sets of HDPE between these things on the bottom, kind of clamp it together. Got to make sure that this is all on the screen. Okay, so we got, I'm going to kind of shrinkify this little window up here. I don't think the overhead is particularly important, but at least you can kind of see what I'm doing that way. Yeah, that ought to work pretty good, actually. Does this thing reach? Nope. So I think, again, has anybody in the chat, have you guys done any like experimenting like this? I find it to be highly useful. A lot of times I'll just opt to waste a bunch of resin when I'm doing things that, you know, if I'm trying to come up with a new pen blank that I'm gonna, you know, I'm obviously going to be doing. Geez. I'm going to be pouring them in the Gatling molds, so multiples at a time. I generally don't do like testing with one pen blank because it's not how things are going to work out in the end. Whether that may be, it may be kind of difficult to get the right dye recipe, number one, if it's like a super tiny amount. But the other thing is, it's just not going to be how I do it. So a lot of times I end up wasting a ton of resin. And actually, one thing I kind of forgot to share with you guys is some results from the marble blanks. Okay. This may turn into a big mess quick. It's almost like some of these are bigger than others. I'm just gonna have to kind of watch out what I'm doing here. Well, I have things out of wood, but the problem is it blocks. They're too big. I think this will work. I know. I should have thought about how I was doing this. But who does planning? Seriously. Okay, so today is, let's see here. Wow. 10-5. We're doing experiments with resin. All right, so for the first one, let's do mica powder. And we're going to have 4 tubes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pour them similarly, I guess. So this is the thing, though, is the pouring. One of them, let's see, how's this going to, yeah, so the first one, I guess we're going to have to do, the first test is going to be like the lower temperature. I think we'll go with the higher temperature first, just because I think that's going to be more telling. Let's see, actually, you're right. I got a 1/2 inch. I'm thinking while I speak. All right, let's go with a 3/4 inch piece of wood. I'm going to drill some holes in it, like you said. And I think that might work a little bit better. All right, guys, sorry about this. We're having a lot of fun here. What I'm going to do is this is not going to hold these things up. I'm just going to drill some holes in a 3/4 inch piece of wood And hopefully that's going to hold it close enough, especially if I can get the holes drilled pretty close. Let's see what kind of diameter we got on these tubes. So about a 1 inch. A little bit over though. 105. It's just barely over 1 inch. Mm-hmm. Well, if I do it with a drill, I can kind of wobble it a little bit. Oh, rip my glove. All right, let's see how I did, and then we'll spread these guys out. Oh, that's did I pick the wrong one? That's 1 1/4. Why is the 1 1/4 in the 1 inch slot? Ah, there's the 1 inch. Let's try this again. That one's sharper. Okay. Yep, that's not going to work. One more try. This one ought to work. I'm making a damn mess over here. Okay, 1 1/8. Let's try that. What do you guys think about this? 1 inch almost works. Dang. Yeah, that's really not working, guys. Because that's... I can tape around the bottom. Anyone got a CNC? What's the chat saying? Ugh. It's got stoner on it, so tape doesn't work. Yeah, that's not going to work. What about this one? I guess that actually would work. Kind of. I don't know. This sucks. I don't like that. This is just not working out so great. I think we're going to go back to my original idea and see if we can get it to work like Michael was talking about. I think the problem is I'm bending the thing around it. Maybe if I just put one clamp in the middle even. I'm going to have to rearrange where this is at, but where's my clamps? I just want to do a dang experiment, you know? What I need to do is probably drill, like the way that I would do this now. See, this is going to be right in the way. What I would do is I would drill, probably just use that 1 1/8 drill, and then drill out holes and then cut the thing in half and then squeeze it together. How about that? Oh, this is just a freaking nightmare. Okay. That ain't working. Let's see, what can we do? How can we stick these things down? I think what I can do is maybe pour them in that stand, because that's like the majority of the problem, and then I'm just going to pull them out one by one. Because I don't have time for this, and neither do you guys. All right, so we're going to mix up, make sure that we got plugs in all these things, because I did that once. And we're going to mix up 100, let's see here. I'm not going to mix up more than 60 grams per tube on this now. This is one that I might actually have to edit the replay on, because that was ridiculous. Delete. So I'm gonna pour the resin in. You know, you guys have seen that. That's not really a big deal. And then what I'm gonna do is I have just a single. Dang it! That's still not really gonna work, is it? Well, you can see on the end here. we'll do like one at a time with the swirl, and I'll just move it. That's the best I got, guys. Let's see here. So we're going to do 60 grams times 4. Yeah. All right. So we're using Alumilite Clear Slow. I'm going to mix up 120 Part A. Okay. Now on this one, what we're going to do is half of it's going to be clear, half of it's going to be mica powder. Okay. What's really going to suck is if this doesn't even work at all. We'll know on the first round, luckily. So let's pick a. We need to pick something kind of like bright or dark. I'm not entirely certain which way would be better. I'm thinking like Yamagata red. It's kind of dark, but it's also kind of bright-ish. Maybe even add a little, I'm not going to do that. I just want to see what the mica powder looks like. Let's see. Purple. I'm just looking to see if something like really pops out at my eye, color-wise. Maybe even actually, I think brighter might be the best way to go. I think I'm going to go with this saffron orange, because it's like really bright, or even tangerine maybe, but this one's just a little bit darker, but bright. Yamagata is just a little bit dark, and I'm not sure that it's really going to show up for you guys. So we'll mix this stuff up. Yeah, I was thinking about hot glue, Kim, but the problem is hot glue doesn't stick to the silicone plugs. I don't know what the deal is. I didn't think about that too much. I learned that I can't figure out how to do things in 5 seconds to hold tubes up. Problem is, like, that wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but I was trying to hurry and get that thing done. Like I said, I really think the best way to do that is just drill holes, split it in the middle, and then you can clamp it together. The kerf cut is going to eliminate, like take out that extra, the 1 1/8, because that's what these holes are, I'm pretty sure. And there's just enough play so that it's not hard, and that's fine for a stand like that. But what I want is just a little 3/4 inch piece. But if I make the 1 1/8 inch holes and then cut a kerf through the middle, it takes up the slack probably enough, I would imagine, to get it to work. And even if it doesn't work perfect, that's where you could just add something in there. You could even add like a little hot glue blob on the end to get it to. Well, I guess you're right, Kim. I could have hot glued them into the holes. I don't want to drill any more holes and mess around with that stuff. Easier just to, I want to get my drill press set up and do it properly. Let's see here. So 120 is going in this one. I hope this is enough resin. I got to think about how deep I'm pouring these things. So, all right, so we got our clear resin. And then I'm going to load this up. So we got 120. I'm going to put like just about, well, I don't have a whole lot of. I'm going to put like 3/4 of a teaspoon of this stuff in there. Dang, I need another one of these. Because I want it to be pretty opaque, and I also want it pretty thick. I think you're going to get better swirling the more mica powder you actually put in too. That's something else that I don't know if I mentioned, but it thickens it up. You know, like the more stuff you're going to put in your resin, the thicker it gets. I don't see too many issues with mica powders typically when you're swirling them anyway, but definitely the more mica powder you put in, the thicker it is in there, and the less chance that you're going to see tubes if you're making regular, you know, kit style pens that use the tubes. Now, we're going to go for like the kind of the main event. I don't want to do like the thin, or I mean like, you know, like when the resin's still a little bit on the thin side. I want to do the like I would do normally first. That way, because if it doesn't work at all, we don't really get to see anything, then there's really no point in doing the thin, you know, any other experiments, and we can move on to making some blanks instead. So what I'm going to do, it's 74 degrees in the shop right now. I'm going to wait till it's like, typically I would well, let's see, probably about 100 degrees Fahrenheit is what I'm going to go with. That's when I'm going to pour. So we're at about 85 right now. Tomorrow, yeah. Yeah, well, the problem with 3D printing stands is you got to, I can't just whip out designs like that, you know. It would take me an entire day just to design 3D model this stupid thing. That's my biggest problem. If you're good at 3D modeling, then like 3D printing, CNC, like all that stuff is awesome. Because for the most part, it doesn't take a whole lot of, you know, messing around. But that's where I think that stuff really shines. If you can create your own designs, then, you know, you're not just forced to download somebody else's thing or whatever. But if you can quickly put together designs, man, 3D printers and CNCs and lasers and all that stuff is really awesome then. So I think I'll just kind of leave this, and I'm going to try to kind of, this isn't going to be exactly the way that I pour because I'm not going to just be kind of dumping it around. I need to kind of hit the hole, you know, so it's going to be a little slightly bit different than I would normally pour, but I think that it's not going to be so different that it's going to affect anything with these experiments. You know, hopefully we're going to get some separations going on and it'll be visible. Then, you know, we'll come in with our stir stick, and then hopefully we'll be able to actually kind of see how the resin's moving, you know, and see if there's like major differences. So hopefully let's get this thing set up correctly here. In fact, I think I'm just gonna turn it this way off the bat, make sure that this looks right, so that you can see. That should work. That's the best we got, I think. So one at a time, you know, I'm going to pour them like this, but then one at a time, I'm going to move this is going to be our main attraction here. And then we'll kind of come in and I'll try to kind of go a little slow. Otherwise, if I just get in there and kind of whip it around, then I don't know that that's going to tell us a whole lot either. Let's see where we're at temperature-wise. We're at 94. Lelia's here. Silicone mold maker, nice. Yeah, the funnel thing is cool. That definitely kind of helps, and I think you can possibly get different results. You know, the problem is if you're doing like multiples, then you either have to have this super complicated system where it's like you're pouring into one thing and it divvies it up. That would be cool. I've actually thought about maybe doing something like that where you can just kind of dump it into a bigger cup and it's just running down in. I think that might be interesting maybe, but it's a little bit of a challenge. Then the issue with funnels is the resin is in there, and you gotta like if you had something where there was a big basin and a bunch of, you know, like tubes that came out of the bottom of it, can you imagine, like, it'd be almost like a one or a few times use, because you know, resin would stick in there every single time. It'd be hard to clean out for sure. So we're at like 98. One thing I'm going to do real quick, because otherwise it's going to get, it's going to be kind of tough. I'm going to have to redo this. We may be a little bit over 100, but otherwise this stuff is just going to be sticky everywhere. I want that. Okay. Okay, so we should be there. 199.5. Oh man, are you guys ready for this pour? This will be so exciting. Clear and orange. All right, so like I said, I'm going to try to do this a little bit like cleaner. I can't just kind of, I usually just go around the rim, you know, but we're just going to do this kind of one at a time. Hoping that the clear, what may end up happening is this orange may kind of just take over everything, and you can't really see a whole lot of the clear. I don't know. I've never done this before, obviously, so. Might need to go with like a tiny amount, because it looks like the whole thing just looks orange at this point. That's not going to work too well, is it? I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work. Because the color kind of takes over the whole thing. A little low on this one. I'm just going to add a little bit more. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see this. Well, kind of can. I don't know. All right, so for the first one, we're going to go with the thin. Okay, need that in there. Yeah. I mean, it kind of is visible. I don't know. This isn't, I think maybe you need like a tiny amount of the other color. So let's go with our normal stir stick. In the end, we may be able to see, I mean, obviously we're going to be able to see into the blank when it's cured a little better. So that may give us some idea of what's going on. I need to kind of keep an eye on how I'm doing these things. So here's like the third thickest. You can definitely see it like tracing resin around the outside. I don't know if you guys could see that. See, there's little, because I kind of was digging in to the side of that thing. And then we got, let's see here. So this one goes over here. I'm going to just number these before I pop them in. And we may as well pressurize these, I guess, because these might actually be kind of cool. So here's that big, thick one. And that's really seeming to displace a lot. I'll wipe that off. I think I might have forgot to. Okay, so let me mark these guys up. One. I think this was, which one was which? Two. Did I do this one or that one last? This one must be last, because it's a mess at the top. Okay, so let's pressurize these. Why not? I like this rack though, so I'm going to swap out for this rack. Whew, that was exhausting. So on the next one, I'm gonna try less of the colored resin. Again, it's not gonna give us exactly like what, you know, like in a typical pour, what's happening on like typically, but I think that we might be able to kind of see how these sticks, it's not so much, I just want to see how it like affects the resin. You know, how is it moving around? Is it worth it to do this little curly Q thing? You know, all these extra little doohickeys and things going on with it? Or can you just grab like, you know, maybe like this thick, straight, and you're gonna get like the same result kind of thing. And so far my experiments have shown me, obviously I use the one that has kind of some bends in it. And I think that I definitely get a more, you know, you get more swirls, a little bit more mixture. So that's not something, it's not that I definitely need to test this out to see which one I should go with. I've already kind of chosen. Oops, I don't want to put that away. However, it's always good to, I like to really understand like what's happening, and I can't tell you what's really going on in there. It just seems to me most of the experiments work really fine. You know, like most of the blanks that I make, this is the one that I use, and everything works great. So it was one of those, it ain't broke, so I'm not going to fix it kind of thing. But it is a little bit easier, I find, to just use a straight stick. But I don't think you're getting as much swirl movement. So I'm just going to wipe these things off real quick. I like to make sure there's no residual resin baking on it, because it kind of gets clumpy sometimes, and then that can maybe affect things too. Oh, we lost our light. Gotta go get a battery. All right, so what do you guys think about that? Yeah, I'll have to, I'm probably not going to do a video demolding and doing all that stuff with these anyway, so that's what a lot of times when I forget, that's kind of the problem, is I'm like filming and doing all these other extra things, and I kind of just forget at that point. Like I'm more focused on the video. All right, so let's put that away. We got some really cool burl, faux burl. So I think I got one more box that I need to add to the website. But I've been kind of pouring some really interesting faux burls lately. And actually wasting a little bit more, but pouring kind of thinner bands of it. I thought that was kind of cool looking. Look at that thing. So anyway, there's going to be more faux burl, you know, like the little faux burl boxes coming soon on my website, just to let you guys know. And those are, again, they're just over pours. I don't pressurize them or do anything. I just pour the extra, you know, into the little faux burl molds and move on with my life. So there could be some, you know, little pinholes or something like that, air pocket, not pockets, but like little pinholes in there that you might have to kind of fill, just because, you know, Alumilite really requires pressure. Because it's so fast at curing. And from what I've heard, and I don't know if this is true. I would like to kind of maybe ask, like, I don't know, like one of Alumilite's chemists or somebody that actually might know. And I don't know if this is like a urethane thing or an Alumilite clear thing or like what. But somebody told me that it doesn't, like some resins actually have substances in, like an additive in them that actually helps remove air bubbles, like air from the mixture somehow. I don't know. I'm not a chemist. I have no clue, but that's kind of an interesting thing. And Alumilite definitely doesn't, you know, whoever told me this said that Alumilite clear does not have that, or it almost makes extra bubbles or something like that. I don't know about that, but it's always nice to understand like the chemistry or physics, I guess, processes that are going on, because if you understand what's happening, then you can possibly get different interesting effects because you know how it operates, or you can stay away from failures and problems. It's always best to understand what you're doing. So let's do one more experiment. We'll do some dye. This, excuse me, this time I'm not going to pour as much in there. I think it'll be better, hopefully, if we don't do that type thing. I'm just trying to pick a good color here. I think, yeah, let's just go with this orange one. That's a good one. We'll go with this orange again, and then that'll give us two, you know, kind of the same idea, same like colors, kind of. We won't be altering both, you know, the liquid dye versus the mica powder ones so much. So number 2 is going to be, and this is the Divine Pigments, you know, like your liquid, it's like pigment paste, kind of the same. Eye Candy came out with that. Divine Pigments has way more colors though. So that's, you know, and it's been around longer, so I've been using that for a while. You know, and you could even kind of do this with dye, you know, transparent dye. I mean, it would be a separate thing and it would mix around like that. So I don't think that we're not going to do temperature differences. We're going to do it like I would normally do it. I don't really know that there's a big benefit to pouring when it's not ready to be mixed. I mean, it's just going to bleed. So I think we'll know what that is. Maybe you could go for like even extreme, you know, on the further extreme end, and see if you can get like a better separation. That might be worth doing, but let's just do kind of the same thing. We'll pour it at 100. And it's, you know, again, like 70, 74 in the shop. I don't know if that changed or not, but we'll try to do these again the same way, like order-wise. I'm pretty sure I did thin, the regular one, the black one, and then the thick one. And we're going to go with, let's see, that's called Tiger Orange. And we're going to go with, what is that one called? Saffron Orange. Okay, so we're going to go with, let's see here. We're only going to mix up, the only issue with this is if I only mix up a tiny cup of the orange dye, or, you know, pigment, whatever, the colored one, it's not going to heat up nearly as fast. Like, it's going to be on the thinner side. So that's kind of the drawback to this. But I think it might be more telling if we put less of the dye stuff in there, and hopefully we can actually see what effect a little bit more, because I couldn't really see what was happening when I spun those things around. We'll just have to see what happens. So what I'm going to do is we're going to mix up 240 grams again, but it's going to be, we're going to mix up like 200 and then 40 grams. Okay. We got the game plan here. we're ready to rock and roll. So 40 grams. Just gonna get a little small cup here, and what I'm just gonna put like 1 gram of the. I don't need 1 gram. What is that gonna be? 20. We'll do 0.6. Do 0.6 grams. See how that goes, of the pigment in the resin there. All right, time is. We're doing okay on time, even though I wasted plenty of time. Let's see what's going on in the chat real quick. No more fun cups. No, I got rid of the fun cup because I think that these are more fun. These are happy fun burls. I wanted to make a burl mold anyway. And personally, like the fun cups are cool, but the other problem is it's really expensive to ship those. And so like realistically, it's like the thing costs $10 and like shipping would have to be $10. These fun cup or fun burls, you know, obviously it gives me a little bit of a chance to kind of market these guys. So you can make little, you know, faux burls, and then you just recast them in a 1.5 inch PVC pipe, put clear or, you know, whatever you want on them. But at least we're making something kind of more useful just out the gate than just the fun cup. And like I said, the shipping it's a problem for me because there's not a box that's reasonably priced for that size of a thing. So it's just really heavy and expensive. So it kind of, it was a little bit of a problem on the logistical side of things also afterwards. But that's not really why I got rid of them. I kind of had planned to do the burl thing for a while. And frankly, I'm probably going to come up with some different things too. One thing that I thought would be a really neat thing to do, I just haven't come up with like a design, is to make like a pen rest kind of thing. This is kind of a little bit more, I would say a little bit more important or more like typical in the fountain pen realm, where, you know, you're making the 3-piece fountain pens, or even like it doesn't really matter what type it is, but if you're making like a closed end pen or a bespoke pen and not doing a clip, they tend to roll all over the place. So like just something that you can like rest your pen on would be pretty cool. But the thing is, I got to come up with a design, probably make it out of wood, and then I want to create a mold of it so I can just, you know, use the excess to make these little pen holders. I thought that would be kind of neat. What am I doing here? Let's add our part B. How about that? Part B, 121. Oh, went a little over. That's not a big deal though. And somebody was having, I got an email from Pam. Thought I'd maybe mention this. I can talk about it. I'm not sure if Pam watches this show or not. But I got an email from what is that? Not like a bug? I might have got a bug in my resin. That guy's, he could have been having an even worse day if we let the resin heat up. Anyway, Pam was having an issue with cloudiness. I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the specifics were, but I got an email. She was having issues with cloudy resin. And if you're pouring very small amounts, like I don't know exactly what all the, you know, I'm not a technical support helpline for Alumilite, so I can give a couple suggestions quick, but I thought it'd be an interesting thing, you know, like if you're getting white haziness, which is I think what the problem was in Alumilite clear, there could be a couple issues. If your humidity level, like the ambient humidity, went up significantly recently, you may not be able to cast with it because the humidity causes that. Moisture does. It could be moisture in your actual air lines, if you know, for your pressure pot. So double check that. Make sure you have a filter system on your air hose line, so that doesn't, so you're not blowing moisture into your pressure pot. And if you're pouring very small amounts with this stuff, the clear slow, specifically, that can be a problem because the stuff wasn't made, it's not engineered to be, like don't make label blanks with Alumilite Clear Slow. It's not going to work very well. There are ways to do it, but I don't even recommend it. It's just frankly not worth it. Clear Slow was engineered to be poured in 32 ounces or larger amounts at once. Okay, so for like bowl blanks, like it's made to be poured in gigantic amounts compared to like pen blanks. Now you can get away with pen blanks, but even if you're going to be doing anything with clear or transparent areas in your blanks, this is what I would recommend, is add a little extra part B to your mixture. Sometimes that can overcome the problem. In some cases, you may be, if you're not measuring and mixing properly, that can cause issues too. But sometimes if you're seeing little white hazy things, and this is only in clear, like it doesn't really matter if you're adding color and stuff because you're not going to see it. And it doesn't affect the blanks. It's not a structural kind of thing. It cures fine still, and everything's the same. It's just, it's a visual problem. So if you're doing clear things or transparent things, that's where this is a problem. But sometimes just adding a little extra part B to the mixture though, like no more than like 1% of the total, like that should be like the very max. That can maybe help. So just wanted to kind of cover a couple things. Yeah, Divine pigments are pretty good. They got a lot of really good colors, and most of them are pretty opaque. Some of them are a little bit kind of more like translucent, really. So just be careful with that. I know one of them, like they're like abyss blue for sure. I think they're greens. Like the jade green and harmony green, they tend to be a little bit less opaque. They're kind of a little bit more translucent. So just be a little bit aware of that. Some of them are not like dead opaque, but many of them are, as long as you really add enough. It's like almost like glitter in this. I don't understand. I think I got a weird batch. It's old too, but other than that, I mean, the stuff works great, and it allows you to work, like, because you can't use Alumilite dyes. These regular Alumilite dyes, they're just transparent. It's like alcohol inks. Most of them. The fluorescents are translucent from Alumilite. The white and black are opaque, but the white and black are basically the same type of pigment stuff as the Divine pigments. So yeah, good one. Turner's Warehouse carries it, or you can go to Divine, just like Google search Divine pigments, and you can find it there. Okay, before we even begin, and hopefully I'll pick these up in the right order. I'm gonna mark these 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of put the sticks where they kind of go. Be a little bit organized here. How about that? Okay, so we're waiting for about 100 degrees here. And a lot of times, if you can get one of them to that temperature, it's good enough. That's something I will mention, but having this significantly different amount of resin, this is going to heat up slower than this larger volume, like mass of it. So this is going to hit 100. This will probably be only at like 95 or something. So be aware of that. Different size amounts. So that's at 89 right now. Are going to give you different numbers. Well, that's at 89, but this one will heat up. It'll start heating up a lot faster. What was this one? 89, 80, 88. Yeah, the ebook helps a lot, actually, I think. I was super surprised. The reason, and I'm not like gloating or saying it's like whatever, or, like making you buy it, but I've literally had 2 people, maybe 3, and that thing's been out for many years at this point, and I've sold many copies, which kind of blew my mind. But I've only had like 2 or 3 people complain about it and like be like, I want my money back and this sucks and all this, like there's I expected, there's a significant amount of people that are going to be like, I don't like this. Only 3. One of them didn't get the fact that it was an ebook. Like that was the problem. They thought it was a physical book. One person it didn't work for them. It was not so much like they thought it was terrible. And then one person was just like that person, you know, like they're like, I want my money back. You ruined my life. That's it. Like, so it seems like it works and it helps people. So that's why I'm really happy. But I did put a lot of time into thinking about it, and it's like understanding what's going on. Like, I think that it's more important to understand what's happening. And so it goes through all the different resins and all that stuff, which I think is an important thing. Picking resins, different, all kinds of different stuff. So it is a pretty cool book. But one tip, let's see. The biggest thing is if you're new to resin casting, mixing and measuring are like, those are usually the problems that people run into when they have issues. A lot of times new resin casters, it's because they're not measuring it out properly. And that can be 2 things. You're not like, this resin specifically is a 1-to-1 by weight. It has to be by weight, okay? Not by volume. We're not putting like similar amounts, using like little, your measuring cup things. It has to be used with a scale. And so that's one of the biggest things that people get messed up on is the volume versus weight. Or they think, it's all by weight. But so read the instructions, figure out which one it is. But the other thing is if you're not doing it accurately, that can cause issues. If there's, you're not actually getting it like 1-to-1. It's kind of just about 1-to-1 maybe. That can kind of throw things off, especially with certain resins. All right, so we're at 99.5. Let's do this. I'll try to kind of give this a little bit more of a base and just put little amounts of the orange in on top. I don't know how this is all going to work, but we're going to try it out anyway. Probably didn't even need this much orange for what I'm really trying to accomplish here, but we'll see. It kind of mixes together a little bit. Like it's not really mixing together exactly, but kind of hard to tell. Some of these are a little bit more kind of clearer than others. So let's start with this guy. There's, I added a good amount down in the bottom. See if I can get a bag to wipe these guys off with. Okay, so 1. So, I don't know, that didn't seem to do a whole lot in there. 2. Let's put that into let's load it up. Now, one thing I definitely will say is typically your dyes or like, liquid pigments are going to kind of like bleed or mix a little bit. They're easier to mix or move around, blend together kind of compared to mica powders. And I think the main thing is mica powders are much larger chunks of color. Like the little particles are like way bigger. I mean, like probably like 100 times bigger per chunk of color. So you know, it kind of makes sense, right? It's just things, those particles can't like blend together as easy. Which one did I just do? Did I do this one? Or did I do this, the black one just now? I was talking. I think I did the black one, hopefully. Yeah, definitely have to paint the brass tubes. Neural Unicorn, welcome. Waiting for the... Am I on this one now? I did the black one. Okay, that's what I thought. I mean, one thing that you can definitely see on this stick is, you know, like I'm pulling... Now, I am doing this one like last, but I'm pulling a significant amount more resin out on this thing because it has more surface area, right? So it's displacing stuff even more, I think, than the smaller ones. But you just never know. It's kind of hard for me to see, but I think this, you know, in the end, I think we might get some interesting perspectives. I don't know that it's going to significantly change anything, you know, like the way that I do things. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see what the end results are, I guess. And I think, like I said, I don't think I'm going to, probably not going to post stuff, demolding and all that kind of stuff, because it's not that interesting, I don't think. We'll talk about it next week, though, here. It'll be a little bit, I think we'll keep it, especially since you guys sat through that fun first half of this stupid thing. We'll give you guys the answers rather than let people see what we've been doing in the experimental lab on, you know, social media. Kind of see what's going on with these things. The problem is all these things, I'm just going to have to get rid of that one. So I have so we have one other thing that we can do. Let's see, yeah, that should be perfect amount of time. I want to make some Halloween themed blanks. And I have the colors, so it should be pretty quick. We're just gonna, I don't have to find a stand to hold the tubes or any of that stuff. So we'll do that, but before we do that, I want to share with you guys some stuff about the marble blanks. All right, so I did some more pours, and this is the, not the gold ones. Those were pretty simple, and I don't really think there's a whole lot of nuance to doing it that way. I think you can get a little bit out of control if you put too much in there of the gold part. But other than that, I think that I don't really think that the gold nugget thing was there's not much going on there. But the regular marble, what I was actually going after, that is nuanced. At least it was for me, the way that I do things. So I want to kind of share with you guys some stuff, you know, because I made that pen and I was like, this is pretty good. Like I was like, this is better than I kind of expected it to be, maybe. You know, I don't know. It was good. It was really good. The only issue was there was just not as much coverage throughout the blank of the color. You know, like I was like, it kind of seems like it needs more color. So I poured some more blanks, and then I poured some more blanks. And it was funny because every time I did it, I adjusted very slightly everything. And it was like massive. I feel like it was pretty massively different results. So I wanted to kind of share this. And I don't know if, again, it may just be the way that I'm doing things or whatever, or the way that I pour. I don't know. But temperature could have something to do with it, you know, when I'm pouring. But so let me grab the pen for anybody that didn't see the outcome of the first round. And it definitely, I love the pen. The pen turned out great, but I was like, I think it needs a little bit more of something. So here's the pen. And as you can see, I mean, that to me, it nailed what in my head I thought I was going to be able to get. The only issue is there's only kind of that gray stuff, mostly on like one side. So I thought, you know, and maybe what it needs is, because you can kind of see some little areas here and there. But I thought, well, maybe it needs to be a little darker or something like that. So I poured it darker, and to me, that's too much. Like and I said this, like you're getting into the, like it's like a color swirl blank, not so much like marble. There's just like too much going on in this thing. Part of it, I think, is because I added a lot more. I probably doubled the amount of mica powder I put in there. But to me, this isn't super awesome. I don't know. I don't really like that personally. You guys can let me know what you think about that. So this was the second batch. I gotta kind of arrange these things. This was the first batch. And another thing that's interesting is you can kind of see just on the outsides of the blanks, these just tend to kind of have, they're darker looking where there's gray. There's more of it, it's darker. So that was something that was an interesting kind of thing. And then, so then I was like, oh, I went way too far. Let me dial it back, but kind of try to pour more stuff in. And this is what I got. And that's not good at all. Like it's too light for me. And I turned a couple of them. There's like not enough of it and it's too light. And again, you can see the outsides kind of tell the story a little bit. So I didn't like that so much. Then I went with, I increased the amount of mica powder, but I ended up actually not pouring as much as I thought in on this batch. But now we're back to like what I think is pretty close. But it's kind of similar to the first round where we kind of have like, I don't know. This is a lot more similar to the first round. So I made it a little bit more of an adjustment, and this is what I got. And I think this is pretty much dead on for what I want with these things. So the whole point of this is, one, I finally figured it out for the folks that are doing the pen blank club. I think these are going to be an excellent amount. And I think that the first batch is good. But we have, you know, a pretty good batch right here. So we're going to have some good ones. We have some that I think are good, but they're not what I was like really hoping for, where there's like a decent mixture of stuff, enough of the color, but not enough to overthrow things and make it start looking like a swirl blank. The other thing with the last two batches that I poured, you can kind of see, so this actually gets into what we were doing today. On all of these other batches, the first three that we did, I was like, we're not going to use a mixing stick. I just want it to be kind of how it is. I think if you're going to do this marble thing, I think it's a mixing stick, but not like going all crazy swirling it around. Like just get a simple straight stick, do what, kind of go down the side, kind of bring it up a little bit, swirling around and be done. So just kind of, like a simple swirl, but I think that that's going to give you more even distribution throughout the blank. So I just wanted to kind of share that. I think that the mixing stick thing helps. Now this one is kind of half and half again, but I don't think all the blanks are going to be like that. And it really kind of depends on how much you pour in there at a time. You don't want to go too little, but you don't want to go too much. They're pretty nuanced. Like I don't think that I would actually add these to my site and make these all the time, because they're kind of tough to dial in if you have a very specific thing. Minor changes can kind of tweak things a little bit on these. But again, I don't know if it's partly just the way that I do things, because there's a lot of people that seem to be able to do things like this way better than me. So I don't know if they have like a different technique or what, or I don't know if it's amounts, timing of the pours or anything like that. I don't know what it is, but like I said, I was happy on the last round, and I did make changes, but I tried to kind of pour things fairly similarly each time. So wanted to share that. So the Pen Blank Club, you guys will be getting some of these guys. Be on the lookout for that. Now let's do some Halloween themed blanks. So what I wanted to do, everybody does black and orange, and that's great, that's fine. You know, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I was kind of looking around at different like Halloween, just you Google search and just look at different things, decorations and, whatever. And what I came up with that I thought would be kind of a fun color mixture that I think is definitely Halloween-y, but it's not typical. I don't think that you really see this. When people say make a Halloween blank, I mean, it's usually like black and orange, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other colors that Halloween might be. But so what I found, and I think this would be an interesting one to make, is purple, black, and then like fluorescent yellow. So like what I'm thinking is you're kind of mixing like, like black cats, purple for, like witches maybe. You see that a lot. And then like the fluorescent yellow being like, you see like the glowing cat's eyes, or like the witch's brew is usually like this weird, it could be green, but I was thinking like this yellow, kind of a weird kind of thing. So that's what we're going to do. I haven't thought of like which colors, which way I'm going to do this. I'm going to kind of think about this real quick in my brain, but black is just going to be like black dye. The fluorescent yellow, we're going to go with fluorescent yellow. From Alumilite. So those two are pretty simple. The purple, I'm not sure which way to go. You can go mica powder, but you could also go with like we could create like an opaque, I was thinking opaque probably, purple. And then there's like different shades. So yeah, purple's definitely yeah, okay, Vinny likes one and there's subtle differences, and I think with those marble blanks, I think they all could work. You could call them marble blanks, but I think that what I have in my brain, 1 and 5 are really a lot more. So I already have a Joker. That's another thing, is I don't want to do purple and green anyway, because I already have blanks that are like that. So I want to do fluorescent yellow. And I'm sorry I'm not involving the chat on this, but I want to see these blanks come to life, because I already know what green and purple looks like. And I can imagine but putting a little bit of black with that is just going to, what it's going to do. So we're going to do purple, fluorescent yellow, and black. Now, mica powder, or I'm thinking like, I'm just trying to think of how that's going to look if you do a mica powder with the blank. I'm kind of thinking maybe more like a dye. Like an opaque pigment. I think that's what I kind of want to do with this. So let's see here. Yeah, oh, and actually Michael was saying that for these marble blanks, I think that a horizontal mold would probably be a lot easier to get things even. That's a good point. I wanted to mention that. Now I don't want to have to cut blanks out of. I'm getting away from horizontal molds because I don't want to deal with it on the table saw. When you have to constantly like, it's one thing if you're just like, oh, I'm just going to make a batch of blanks, and you can just go to the bandsaw, cut out 6 blanks, and like that's all you're going to do for the month. But for me, like I have to stock and restock these things, so like it's a pain. Like I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm gonna be like 45, and I don't want to do that anymore, kind of thing. It's kind of dangerous on the table saw. It causes a lot of dust, and I just don't want to deal with it. So I'm trying to move away from as much as possible. You can't get away from everything, but if I can figure out a way to do things vertically, I'd rather do that. So I think it's easier though. I think you can easily get it more distributed and see what you're doing a little bit easier horizontally. So that's a good point. No, not hurting your feelings, yeah. Now I'm going to go with the fluorescent yellow. I'm set on that. So I'm sorry that we're not going to debate that. What I want to know is mica or dye for the purple. And the tough thing is you got to get like the right color, and I have the right color. I'm thinking the royal purple is probably the way I would want to go on this one. That's pretty good. And the thing is, you don't want to go for like a super dark purple on this. You want to have a little bit more brightness, and that's actually why I'm leaning towards like a dye purple, because I think I can make it brighter, because we're going to add black. And if you put dark purple and dark black together, it just all looks like black. So let's, I think the dye, I think mica, I don't want to do the mica. Let's go for the dye. What do we got here? So I've got two. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna make our own. Do I have any that I've made already? No. Okay, we're gonna make our own, and I think it'll be pretty awesome. All right, so we're ready to rock there. Do I have room on this page? Not really. 10, 4. Okay, and I kind of think of witches with this. So witch Halloween blanks. So we're going to mix up 400 grams. We got 3 different colors. We're going to just do so I think what we're going to do is 150 grams and then 100. So we're going to do 150 grams of the purple, 100 grams of the black. Black can take over a blank, so we're going to do just a little bit less of the black. And then we'll do 150 grams of the fluorescent yellow. So for the fluorescent yellow, we want about, I don't know, let's just do 2.5 grams of this stuff. Hopefully this isn't like dried out. For purple, this one's going to be kind of an interesting one. So what we want to do here is we want to go with, we're going to have to make a mixture. So I'm going to go with 2 different things. I'm going to use white dye, like the white pigment type stuff, and then I'm going to use Alumilite's violet. And I think what we can do here is go like maybe like try a 1-to-1 ratio and see what happens, and then adjust. I'm just going to adjust on the fly. It doesn't really matter. To make it lighter, we'll add more white. To make it darker, we can add more violet. That should work pretty good. And then black, we just need like 1 gram of that. So for this purple, we would want about, again, probably like 2 to 3 grams. We'll just kind of have to see. I think I'm going to start with 2, and I might have to add more anyway if the color isn't what I want. And we're going to go with, and these are just going to be like your vertical, you know, we use our Gatling mold. Slow set clear. We're going to use my regular stir stick. We're going to pour this stuff. It's 75. We're definitely going to pour it at about I think we're going to pour it at like 105 to 110. Because we got some dyes going on. Like it's all dyes. So I usually go a little higher than I would for mica powders. They just kind of tend to can bleed a little bit together. And that was one thing that those stir stick tests didn't really show us. If you have, like, there's nothing to bleed together with the clear. You know, like the clear is not, has nothing in it that could bleed. And so that is one thing to kind of keep in mind with that test. What I was trying to do is just see what the shape, the size of that stick kind of did in the tube. And I'm going to go back and review that footage and kind of look for myself. But the effects of, is it going to like bleed together and do, you know, like that's not something that we were really testing for. And your your dyes tend to kind of bleed a little bit more than your than mica powders. Mica powders just don't really, unless you just mixed it up and poured it right away, then it all kind of tends to bleed together. But as long as you're kind of, you know, pretty close to the you know, a good temperature, waiting for it to thicken up and that kind of stuff, usually you don't get too many problems with bleeding if you're using mica powders. That's why for beginners I usually recommend that. And actually kind of going back to, you know, I think Frederick was asking about the, I forget exactly who asked about for the beginner things. So the measuring is a problem. So make sure that you're doing it the right way and then also doing it accurately. But and another thing is make sure your scale's pretty, you know, reasonably accurate. I like scales that go to a 1/10 gram. Probably not necessary, but if you're pouring larger amounts than of resin at a time, then you know you don't really need to go to a 1/10 gram. If you're pouring like what we're generally doing on this, you know, like hundreds of grams of resin basically, then the nearest gram is fine. If you're doing things very small though, you definitely want the 1/10, and I just like having that ability. Now the other thing is mixing, and if you don't mix it up properly, then you can have problems. And that's probably the like #1 cause of issues for most people. Is not mixing enough, or not, you know, you got to scrape the sides and the bottom of the cup and all that stuff, and it's not hard, it's just, you know, you got to do it thoroughly. All right, so we got 200 grams, and actually I don't even need that much. That's okay. I need to adjust how much, because I generally don't need to pour 400 is more than well over more what, you know, what you need for this mold. For anybody that has the Gatling molds, like you really only need like 360 to 380. I don't know exactly, because I want excess. But 400 is actually a little bit kind of too much. Probably going to switch to pouring 380 for most things. I think I got to adjust. 400 is an easier number to just divide up kind of a lot of times. All right, we're there. Luckily, for the most part, clear slow, Alumilite's clear slow is a pretty reasonable resin. Like you can get away with not getting it dead on perfectly, you know, and it's not going to cause any curing issues. Now, a lot of epoxies, it doesn't take much to get it out, to, you know, out of whack to the point where you can have curing issues. But I still recommend, just to make sure, like if you do run into a problem and you have no clue how accurate your pour was, or the mixture and all that stuff, the measurements, then you don't know if that might have been what caused it. So I always, you know, try to be accurate as possible through all the steps. That if you do run into a problem, it's a little easier to diagnose. You're like, no, my resin was right on, you know, or whatever. All right, Michael, have a good one. Is it possible to make round blanks with epoxy? Yeah, you could use those as masters. I mean, you can copy anything. So, you know, I mean, so think about it that way. Silicone will allow you to copy whatever you want, kind of thing. It's going to copy all the details, though. That's one of the things. So if there's imperfections that you don't want in them or something, it'll copy all that stuff, right? So just make sure that whatever your master thing that you're copying is exactly what you want. That's the only thing that I would say. So we're going to go with 150 here. Actually, we're going to go with 145, 6.7, whatever. Because I think I'm actually going to, another thing is, you know, we were talking about how different amounts in cups and all that kind of stuff can kind of throw off things. So, whoa. So a lot of times, especially if it's something that is a little bit more prone to bleeding together, the colors, a lot of times I'll try to get the cups as close as possible. So I'm not gonna use the mixing cup, basically, is what I'm saying. Okay, so that's fine. A little less black than I had planned. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is add a little bit of black. Just add 1 gram, that should be plenty. This is a Lumelite dye that I'm using. I like the Lumelite black dye. It seems to be more concentrated than the Divine Pigments black, at least the ones that I've had. So I kind of like that one a little bit better. However, on the flip side, I like the Divine Pigments white more than Lumelite's white dye. It's way more concentrated. You can use probably half as much with Divine Pigments white as you would have to with Lumelite, and it's like whiter. I don't know. There's a lot of shades of white, and I don't know if it just has to do with the concentration of pigment in it, because they should technically be using, typically most of these pigments use kind of the same ingredients for white. But for whatever reason, it's like brighter white. It's kind of crazy. So that's a little way to kind of save on a little bit of cash possibly. Let's see, how much did I want in there? 2.5. Oh man, this stuff is thick. There we go. I think there's something blocking the way in there or something. Yes. That's one thing, the Lumelite's fluorescent dyes tend to dry out like pretty quick. So that's definitely one that I don't recommend buying large bottles of, because like I can't even keep I don't use them that much, but I have a tough time keeping the 1 ounce bottles like not hard. Let's see. What's Myra asking about? There we go. I had to pull out a big chunk of stuff that was hard. So if it's not coming out of the tube, you might have like kind of a blockage in there. So you can just use like a PVC pipe for larger things like that. Ice cream scoops. You could use 1.5, 2 inch. That's way cheaper than buying like a bottle stopper mold. Okay, now we got to do our purple. This one's going to take a little bit of doing. So we're going to add, let's see here. I'm going to add 1 gram of the white. And then let's try just adding a gram of this purple. In fact, I'm going to add half a gram and just kind of see where we're at. 0.5 grams. And this is another reason why I like having a 1/10 gram scale. If you're doing anything with dyes and that kind of stuff, then you're probably going to want the 1/10. Ooh, look at that. That's a nice looking purple. What do you guys think of that? Bang. Woo. Yeah, that's pretty much. So here's our colors. What do you guys think of that? We could maybe even go a little lighter with this purple, possibly, but I think that's pretty much spot on to what I had in my brain. And I think that this, again, like compared to like the mica powder or some of the other colors of violet that I have, I think that's going to kind of really stand out a lot more against the black, having kind of a bright color. And then we got our fluorescent, which also should just add a little bit of like contrast to these colors. I was going to say compost. I don't know why. Gretchen's been composting lately. It's on the brain. So we're at about 97. We're going to wait till like 10, at least 105 on these. Another thing that you can kind of look at is how thin is it? And an easy way to tell is, I don't know. I think this is a good thing to kind of get used to, like when you're pouring blanks, like see what the viscosity actually looks like too. And just let it drip off the, you know, pull some out, let it drip off the stir stick. And if you can kind of get an idea of what it needs to kind of look like as it's dripping, then you almost don't even necessarily need to worry about the temperature in some cases. Because it's really, the temperature is really more dealing with what the viscosity is. Like, it's just an easy way to repeat a certain viscosity, I think, is more of really what we're doing with this. But the other reason why I think it's a good idea to do this and like somewhat pay attention to like how does this operate, you know, what's happening at 105 degrees or, you know, around there, is if something goes wrong with your temperature gauge or you forgot it, or I don't know, if something goes weird, it would sure be nice to not have to rely on something that needs batteries to tell you when to pour. You know, and I'm not saying that this is you should just get rid of the temperature gauge. I would never do that, but it's always good to just kind of have an idea, just so you're not just blindly following some temperature number. All right, so we're at, I think we'll pour, yeah, so 106, that's cool. Let's just pour it at 106 here. I don't know if you guys are on screen here. I got to be careful because there's less of the black. That's one area that I kind of get in trouble with. Now keep in mind the yellow is going to be like translucent, like it's going to be kind of see-through. So these blanks are going to need to have paint. Probably the tube is plenty. You probably don't necessarily need to do like paint the inside of the blank on these. I think these are going to be pretty sick looking. Okay, so we're just about to the end. Ooh. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to go with my what I call my regular stick. This one tends to give me the best results. Like we just did those experiments, but this one, and I don't know, the biggest thing is I don't know if this bend does anything, but I do think that bottom part, you know, with having like a little hook on the bottom, I do think that is kind of important on these, you know, for vertical pour stir sticks. I think that's going to give you the best kind of mixture. But there, you know, again, there's a lot of factors involved, and you really kind of need to kind of dial in. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you got to be somewhat close to the right temperature. Otherwise, things are really not going to go the way you want for color swirl blanks vertically poured. Kind of a messy ordeal. That's okay. All right, so let's pop this guy into the pressure pot. Get those things out of the way. I'm excited about these blanks. I don't know. Okay, let's get our faux burl mold over here. Try and get some of this. I really like this purple color. That's nice. Trying to add a little bit of that into the faux burl. Get some black in there. Pretty thick. I think I got the temperature like nailed on these ones. So I think it was about 106. I don't think that's coming out. Okay. Just clean up our stir sticks and then we'll be ready to rock and roll, get out. So hopefully, I don't know, hopefully the stir stick tests like did something, maybe, you know, like worst case scenario, hopefully like you saw something that might be helpful for you in your shop while you're, you know, doing this. I still think, you know, like you could have skipped all that, and I'll tell you, I think that it's a good idea to have a bend in the bottom of the stick. I think that's going to give you the best results. But, you know, I use both. I use just a straight stick if I don't want. I find that you get a little bit less effects. It just seems like it's not doing as much typically if you use just a straight stick, and especially like a thinner stick. I've already noticed those, you know, things, I guess. I've already kind of noticed that about the stir stick thing, is if, you know, like the wider it is, the wider the diameter of the stick, it just seems logical. It's going to be moving more resin around, picking more resin up on it. So, you know, if you just use a really super tiny, like a toothpick thin stick, you're probably not doing anything in there, very little. If you're using something super thick, it's probably, you know, moving it around quite a bit. I think the biggest thing for me is, you know, I'm almost like afraid. I think the next experiment for me is I need to get a stick that's probably bigger than this. I don't know. I'm going to have to, this is the tough thing, is finding materials suitable for this type of thing, and different diameters and all that stuff. But like if I could find something that was like twice as thick as that one, I would be very curious to put the same shape and go like twice as thick on a stir stick and just see what ends up happening. Again, I'm getting perfectly good results with the vertical pours and stuff that I'm doing right now with that stick. So that's the standby. But to try, you know, some newer things out with regular blanks, that's really where the experiment will really show you results, is to do the normal way that you're doing things and try different, you know, thicknesses, bends, all that kind of stuff. One thing that I even tried, and it just didn't, I didn't like it so much, was to put a little loop at the very tip. So I pulled it back over and there was like a hole, because a lot of times if you have like a hole, I've seen this in other like horizontal pours and stuff, it really siphons resin and dye through holes like that. And so I thought about that, but the problem is it's pretty messy and it didn't seem to really do anything special. I didn't notice anything spectacular about it, so I don't know that that's worth it. It's really tough. So let's see here. Yeah, thanks for joining the fun, Frederick. Let's see here. Anything else? Yeah, Ornament Challenge. Thanks for that link. And again, You know, I'll keep that deadline thing going every week on the stream so that you guys don't forget. And that deadline is Turner's Warehouse has to be in possession of the ornaments by the 15th. Okay, so that's not like postmarked by the 15th. That's like they got to have the box of your stuff by the 15th. Okay, so just to make sure that it's been an issue sometimes in the past. And the thing is, they're scheduling things like people from St. Jude and other like random people are the judges. And so the thing is, they schedule these things. And so if they don't have all the stuff on the day that they needed it by, then, you know, your ornament's not going to get judged, basically. It's to save you from not getting into the like judge the contest side of things. You know, and they need to take pictures. It's a lot of work, what they do setting this up. So just make sure you get your ornament to them by the 15th and everything will be good. Let's see here. So next week we will check out and see how these Halloween blanks look. I'm excited about them. Like I said, I had something specific in my mind, so I apologize for not kind of taking suggestions and stuff on that, but I had a specific thing in my head that I wanted to follow. The only thing that I wasn't 100% sure about was that purple. But after we like mixed it in the cup, I was like, that's what I wanted. Exactly. That's what I had in my brain. So anyway, guys, pretty fun stuff. Hopefully you weren't too bored watching me try to set up the experiment thing. I don't know. I'm going to go back and look at the footage. We'll see how those turned out. We were talking about me making something to hold tubes. I probably am not going to do that because I don't think that it really was that apparent what was going on. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see what the results are. But anyway, guys, thank you for joining the fun today. Get in the shop, do some resin casting, do some turning, and have some fun. I hope everybody has a good rest of the evening. And I'll see you guys all on the next stream, which will be next Saturday at noon Pacific time. So have a great night, guys. Thanks for joining the fun.